Assalamu alaikum and good evening, everyone. I'm pleased to welcome you all to the Online Graduate Studies Open House session of the College of Law at Hamad bin Khalifa University for the academic year 2022 to 2023. Before we begin, we would like to share with you a short video.
طبيعة الدراسة في جامعة حمد بن خليفة أنها تربط المجال النظري بالمجال العملي.
دولة قطر تتبنى بخطى جادة متسارعة التحول نحو النقل الكهربائي المستدام.
Every college in HBKU does not work by itself. We are all working together.
Accessibility is important everywhere. With the World Cup, Qatar is sending a message that accessibility matters.
جامعة حمد بن خليفة من الجامعات المتميزة في مجال البحث المبتكر.
وجدت ضالتي في جامعة حمد بن خليفة. كل يوم أنا أحضر محاضرة أكتسب معلومات كثيرة.
My name is Aisha Naima, and I'm delighted to have this opportunity to welcome you all here today. I hope this event to be informative and it helps guide you in your academic journeys. Our session today aims to connect you with the College of Law, our dean and faculty members to explore the unique opportunities in terms of both academic and research that are available in the college, and to learn more about the admissions requirements and student affairs. Our session is set out to be as following: a provost message, a dean's welcome and a college overview, an academic overview, admissions and applications requirements, student affairs, and then will be followed with a question and answer session with one of our SJD students. Before we begin, I would like to remind you that all lines will be muted until the end of the session. If you have any questions, I invite you to include them in the Q&A box indicated in the slides. I would like to start the session by playing a welcome message from our provost, Michael Benedict.
My name is Michael Benedict, and I'm the Chief Academic Officer, or the Provost at Hamad bin Khalifa University, and I welcome you to our Perspective Open House. I invite you over the next few hours to learn more about HBKU and how it might fit your individual interest. But let me start you off with a brief introduction. Hamad bin Khalifa is a unique research university that is organized and mandated to creatively solve research problems that are critical to this country, to the region, and to the world. Problems in areas such as sustainability, public policy, human health, Islamic finance, cybersecurity, natural language processing, and many, many others. You will not find the typical departments at HBKU that you might find at other universities. Our organization is designed on purpose to be different, to be multidisciplinary, and oriented to addressing societal challenges. We are small, and we don't try to do everything. But what we do is world-class. We are primarily a research graduate university with 35 different graduate programs, but only a single undergraduate program in computer engineering. Our faculty are internationally recognized for their scholarly work and are second to none. And by this, I don't mean just a few of our faculty, but I mean all of them. It is an extraordinary group of faculty you would learn from if you choose HBKU for your graduate education. We are organized in 6 colleges at HBKU: Islamic Studies, Humanities and Social Sciences, Science and Engineering, Health and Life Sciences, Law, and Public Policy, with a variety of multidisciplinary programs in each of them. HBKU is truly a global university with nationals, residents, and international students working together and learning together. There are currently nearly 1,000 remarkable graduate students studying here. With access to our state-of-the-art research equipment and guided by our outstanding faculty, we will be in the company of the best and the brightest students in your class, who are all seeking to become leaders and scholars in their chosen field. Our classes are not taught merely by faculty knowledgeable in their field. Our classes are taught by faculty making discoveries that rewrite the textbooks. If you choose to join us, you'll be working with these faculty. If your personal goal is excellence, and making a difference in the world, please explore our offerings further and come join us next year if you find a program that matches your interest. I wish you the best success in your future studies, wherever you end up, but I especially look forward to seeing many of you here next year.
With this insightful message from Dr. Michael, I now hand over to Professor George to go over the college and an overview of the programs.
Sorry, Aisha, I think Dean just joined in, so we
We
have
have-
Thank you
the
so much,
line.
Aisha.
Yes.
Yeah, right. We do have the dean with us. Suzanne?
Yeah, I apologize. It was taking me 3 or 4 minutes to log in. It kept recycling over and the like. But good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Hamad bin Khalifa University College of Law, our Graduate Studies Open House. I'm the Dean of the College of Law, and this is a very important time here in the college due to developments, for example, in the country. As everyone knows, in 18 days, we are starting the World Cup here in Doha, which is one of the most important sporting events held every 4 years. And it is going to be transformative, both in terms of the country, but also as to the significance of the law. Because the law, in turn, is essential into many aspects of the games. And if you think of the infrastructure expansion, the roads, the development of the metro, the expansion of the airport, all involving contracts, administrative law, infrastructure development. We think of building of the important stadiums. We think of access of athletes and fans to the country. The role of sports law itself, resolution of sporting disputes during the games and issues concerning doping and the like. The enforcement of environmental standards throughout the game and the emphasis of sustainability. Further, issues concerning the rights of workers and the like. Intellectual property associated with the games. Dispute resolution as well, absolutely critical. The games are a way for us to think about how our law school has developed over the years in terms of critical areas for the country, the international nature of the law, and the way we teach it here at the Hamad bin Khalifa University College of Law. And so the law school opened its doors in 2015, and it was established through a partnership with Northwestern University Pritzker School of Law. And the founders recognized the importance of having legal education as a graduate degree. That is, every student in our law faculty has at least their first bachelor's degree. Some actually have other masters and even PhDs, okay? But to emphasize high quality teaching and research so that our graduates can contribute positively to shaping the legal profession and society in Qatar and beyond. Our students in our degree programs, and we have 3 degree programs, the Juris Doctor, the LLM programs, as well as the SJD program, they come from a variety of disciplines, and they learn the skills to then understand and work in a diverse legal system. I always say I think we are the most comparative law school in the world, because here in Qatar we are teaching the law that has shaped the country, whether it be the civil law, the common law, and Sharia. And the skills that our students learn enable them to identify and resolve problems arising from complex events and transactions that occur across the region and throughout the world. So just in the next 2 months, as we go through the games, there are going to be critical legal developments I see, for example, branding issues relating to FIFA, potential copying of intellectual property rights. One of the reasons I was a few minutes late getting on is we have a separate program tonight with the World Intellectual Property Organization, and we were just talking about protecting intellectual property rights. These are the kinds of topics that you learn here at our law school, but you do so with experts from around the world and in a variety of topics of relevance. And most importantly, we use the law to analyze and solve problems as opposed to just simply understanding the law. And so we have the Juris Doctor degree, which is our foundational program for students who have earned an undergraduate degree or a master's or even a PhD. It's a 3-year degree, and I'm delighted that Professor Hilary Bell and Professor Kaluk Yip are here to talk about that program in more detail. And we have 2 Master of Law degrees known as LLM in areas that are relevant to Qatar. The LLM in International Economic and Business Law, as well as the LLM in International Law and Foreign Affairs. And I'm delighted that my colleague, Professor George Dimitropoulos, is here to give us more information about those 2 master's programs. Each of those is a 1-year program with the possibility of an extension based on finishing the thesis. And then 2 years ago, we launched our Doctor of Juridical Science, which is a research-intensive doctorate of law. And it focuses on interdisciplinary research, and the director of that program is here, and that is also Dr. George Dimitropoulos. And so those are our programs, and I think it's important that you have an appreciation of the people. And the first is our amazing alumni. We now have 3 alumni from the JD class that have gone on to do LLMs in the United States and get licensed in the New York bar. We have an alum, a Qatari alum, who is close to being licensed here as a lawyer in Qatar. It's a fairly lengthy process under the law. Our graduates are working in legal departments in Siemens, Qatar Museums, Qatar Energy, the Supreme Committee for Delivery and Legacy of the World Cup Games, in Qatar Ministries, and also in foreign in law firms as well. Our alumni have gone on to pursue LLM degrees. Those are the ones that have earned the JD degree, and these are the schools that they went to. You can see for yourself how prominent these schools are. And we recently had 2 complete the LLM at the Harvard Law School. The college also has critical relationships outside of HBKU. We have this year established the UNESCO Chair on Environmental Law and Sustainable Development that is held by Dr. Damilola Olowe, who works closely with UNESCO and UNEP, the United Nations Environment Program. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, this evening, our 3rd-year students are in a program with the World Intellectual Property Organization. That program will go on today and tomorrow, learning from experts in Geneva about patents, trademarks, and copyrights. The law school has an association it has led to establish or to promote the teaching of environmental law throughout the Middle East and Northern African universities. We're an academic partner of the American Society of International Law. We're going to be supporting the International Law Association's 150th anniversary next year in Paris. We work closely with the Jussur Institute here at the Supreme Committee to have training in sports law. We have an MOU with the Qatar International Court and Dispute Resolution Center. We've had a number of important educational events with that court. Also, with the Qatar Financial Center Regulatory Authority. And just recently, we've been working closely in training with Urbidu, which is provides cellular service here in Qatar and beyond. So our law school has these important relationships, but obviously it's the students and faculty that cause them to happen. And I just want to briefly introduce you to the faculty. I'm not going to do justice in this presentation, but I'm the dean, and I have been here since 2018. And my work is principally in the area of international law, comparative law, looking at the intersection of human rights and investment law, looking at courts and the like. My colleague Ilias Bantikas works in the area of international law as well, with a strong focus on international dispute resolution, international human rights. He is the LLM coordinator. Due to another commitment, could not be here this evening. Professor Zachary Kalo teaches sports law, has been very busy over the last 6 months, as you can imagine. He also works in the area of freedom of religion. Professor Damalola Olowi is, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, the holder of the UNESCO Chair on Environmental Law and Sustainable Development. And his area is energy law and environmental law sustainability. And he has taught a course on entrepreneurship law too. Professor Dimitropoulos, whom you'll hear from in a few minutes, he is our the Associate Dean for Academic Affairs, as well as the SJD coordinator. And he works in the area of administrative law, trade and investment law, looking at law from a multidisciplinary perspective with a strong focus on law and economics as well as policy. I know Professor Dimitropoulos, I'm not doing justice to that, but that's a brief description. Professor Polly Manapolo, she works in the area as associate professor. She works in the area of cultural heritage, art law, as well as human rights, and with a focus on freedom of expression. Professor Hilary Bell, who is here today, our JD coordinator. Professor Bell teaches legal research and writing, negotiation, and advocacy. And she comes to the faculty with experience from practice. So you'll hear from Professor Bell. Professor Barry Sullivan, assistant professor, and also our assistant dean of student. He works in the area of healthcare law as well as in tort law, and has an interesting project right now looking at establishing a manual to guide medical professionals on the use of AI in medicine. Professor Kalo Yip, assistant professor here. Professor Yip is also with us today, and she works in the area of international law with a principal focus on international humanitarian law, or the law of war, as well as international criminal law. Aisha Al-Nama is you met a few minutes ago, but her research area is in the intellectual property, and brings to that subject a background in the arts, which is very important. But she's also a member of our SJD class, so she can also speak about her current experience as a student, and she is a graduate of the JD program here, graduating in the first class. And then finally, Khalid El Khoury, who is here from Qatar, who works in the area of the legal profession, and he joined us just recently from the legal counsel's office at the Qatar Foundation. Our programs, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, the principal 4 programs, our student body is quite diverse, 14 nationalities, but we have a large number of Qataris, right now 62% Qataris. The students are very active both in and out of the classroom. and enjoy the opportunity to interact with each other, and it's a very collegial environment. We encourage our students to get to know each other as well as to get to know faculty, because it is through these professional relationships that they in turn will grow into the type of lawyer that is critical in terms of the ability to communicate as well as to understand problems, identify problems, and help solve those problems. And so with that, I give you a warm welcome and thank everyone. And I also understand that Khalid, you're with us this evening as well, one of our doctoral students and a graduate of the JD program who can help answer questions too. So I will now pass the floor over to my colleague, Professor Hilary Bell, who will give us guidance on the Juris Doctor program. Professor Bell, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for that, Susan. Just following up on what you were saying about the relationships that the students form with the faculty, we have an incredibly high ratio of faculty to students. We have a very small student body relative to the number of faculty that we have, and this is very much reflected in the relationships that develop between the faculty and students. As Dean Susan just told us, many of our graduates have pursued LLMs, and it's with great delight that we very often hear from them on their day of graduation. You know, 2 of our students graduated from Harvard Law School this summer with their LLMs, and they called us, you know, from their graduation ceremony. This is the type of relationship that we have. I don't think a week goes by that I don't have a graduate either in the office or WhatsApping me, updating us with the progress in their career. Truly deep bonds form between the faculties and students in the College of Law, and I think that's a lot of what we are actually about and what we're seeking to achieve in the college and what we are achieving and what we could offer you as students. Sorry, can we move to the next slide? I just realised I don't have control of the slides. Here we are. So the Juris Doctor degree is a 3-year programme. It is an initial law degree. Now that means you would need a previous degree, a bachelor's degree, to enter the Juris Doctor. About 50% of our students also have an LLM or a PhD, but that's not required. Sorry, not an LLM, a master's degree. I forget there are other disciplines of study. I believe there is only law. So you would come with a bachelor's degree at a minimum. Lana will be telling you about the entry requirements, but I'm going to mention we would expect a 3.0 GPA. If you use Google, you will find a way to convert what your GPA is to a 4.0 scale, and you can work out whether you meet the entry requirements. The initial law degree qualifies you to practice law, and the Ministry of Justice in Qatar recognises the JD as an initial law degree that would meet the requirements to become a practicing lawyer in Qatar. And that means that if you go to other bar services, bar regulators in other countries, they would recognise this. There may be other requirements to become a practicing lawyer. For example, if you want to qualify in the US, you would need to do an LLM in American law and then sit the bar exam. But the Juris Doctor is the initial degree that would be the starting point if you want to enter the legal practice, the legal profession rather. It's a 3-year programme. And it is taught part-time, but I will warn you all, it is a full-time degree. Many of our students do this in addition to their full-time jobs. Our classes are between 4 p.m. and 8 p.m, mostly Sunday to Wednesday. During your first semester, you will have Thursday classes, but most often it's 4 nights a week, 4 hours a night. Do not be fooled. It is a full-time education programme. There will be some strain on your work-life balance during the 3 years of taking the degree if you elect to work full-time. But many of our students have lived to tell the tale, and you know, you'll hear from some of them tonight. You hear from Aisha. Khalid, one of our graduates from the JD, is going to do the Q&A. So you don't have to believe me. I'm a professor. Why would you believe me? But Khalid has lived to tell the tale, having struggled through work and JD and the family life challenges that you have to balance within the 3 years. I tell you, this will be an unforgettable experience. It will change who you are as a person, and I must warn you, it will change how you think, and there's no going back. Once you've been trained to think like a lawyer, you can't switch it off. I wish we could. This is something that many of the faculty have discussed amongst themselves. We can't not think like lawyers. The JD is very carefully structured. We pride ourselves on our curriculum. We originally designed the curriculum in collaboration with Northwestern University, the Pritzker School of Law, and then over the years we have tweaked it. The courses were designed to match up to the requirements of Qatar, and we have modified them. We have also modified them in response to faculty and student feedback, and we are confident that we are offering the most effective legal education possible. So we start out in your first 2 semesters with foundational courses. In your 3rd and 4th semester, we will develop your skills, your professional skills, vocational skills that can take you into a profession, whether it be law or whether you are looking to advance in the career that you're currently in. If you want leadership skills, this is the degree for you. I highly recommend it. In your final year, you will take advanced courses that will build upon the foundational knowledge that you have developed over your first 2 years, and importantly, build on the skills that you have developed in the 2nd year, which is devoted to skills. We cover construction and infrastructure development law, along with my colleague Cowlock, who's coming on next. I teach that course. I was a construction disputes lawyer in Qatar, and I write on construction law, focused on the Middle East and North African region. We teach criminal law and procedure, as Susan has said, from a comparative perspective. You will learn about criminal law from common law systems, from civil law, and you will look at Sharia law. We teach energy law. Of course we do. We're in Qatar. We look at energy and separately environmental law. As you've heard, we now have Dr. Damalola, Professor Damalola is the UNESCO Chair for Sustainability and Development, and he will teach you about environmental law, a very important issue in today's world. We look at healthcare law, which is taught by my colleague Barry Solomon, who is not with us tonight, but who is very passionate on this topic and takes in aspects of artificial intelligence in that course, which is fascinating. Human rights law, finance and global investment, global economic law and governance, media law, sports law, all highly relevant topics to Qatar, but also highly interesting topics that I'm sure you will be interested to find out more about. There's much more information about each of the courses available on the website. Feel free to look there or reach out to us if you have particular questions about the courses. I'm going to say it, Lana's going to cover it, but we have limited availability of funding. There is a huge misconception out there that there's huge amounts of funding available for pursuing education in Qatar. That funding may be available, but they've not given it to the College of Law. We do not have that funding for you. The maximum we have been able to offer is a fee waiver of 80%. So you will have to make at least a 20% contribution to your fees. And that's it. You can phrase it as many ways as you want in the Q&A. You can send us as many emails as you want. That is the funding situation. Next slide, please, Sandia. Or anyone.
Sorry, Hilary. I think that's the only slide for you for the JD.
That's my only slide. Well,
Yes,
that's me. I'm more than happy then to pass on to Cowlock. Thank you.
If I could just chime in on a couple of things before I sign off, but thank you so much, Professor Bell. The one thing about our program that is important, it's reasonably priced though. Compared to, you look at programs around the world, all of our law programs are reasonably priced, but Professor Bell is correct in terms of the ability to have the limited number of very competitive, but 80% tuition waivers. The other thing I should have mentioned in introducing Professor Bell is that she works closely with our students on competitions, and in particular the moot court competitions. And she just was with some of our students in Egypt going through training, getting ready for a major international investment sale of goods, cross-border dispute competition that's held every year in Geneva, or excuse me, in Vienna or in Hong Kong. And I understand you're going to probably go to Vienna this year. if I'm correct on that. And so
Very
these are the
much so.
these are the opportunities our students have in addition to many others through internships and the like. So I will have to jump off and go back to the WIPO seminar, but everyone's in very good hands. Professor Kalog, Yip, do you want to say a few words then? And then the floor will go on to Professor Dimitropoulos.
Oh, thank you. I just wanted to give everybody a taste of what a typical JD course looks like, because you've heard from both the Dean and Professor Hilary Bell on the sort of comparative and international elements of the courses that we offer here. So I just wanted to give you a taste of what a criminal law course would look like in your JD degree, which is also a compulsory course that you would take in the second year of your study. So for all these, for the criminal law course, it would be a 14-week course and with a break in the middle. And the first 7 weeks, we will be spending our time on studying the main theory of criminalization. Why do we call something a crime? And punishment theory. Why do we punish certain conduct? And we also study the main elements of crime. So what are the actions required for somebody to be held criminally responsible? What are the mental elements required for that criminal liability? And we do all of these from a comparative perspective. So we contrast the positions under Qatari law against American law very often, as well as other common law jurisdictions, and civil law jurisdictions such as Germany. And we also contrast those themes against Sharia. So it would be a comparative kind of a perspective on criminal law in the first part of the course. And in the second part, the second 7 weeks, we would be looking at transnational criminal law and international criminal law. And apart from sort of allowing you to gain the knowledge of these substantive criminal law subjects, we also try to give you the opportunity to practice and acquire the skills that are essential for legal practice, skills such as reading case law, reading judgments, and distilling the decision and explaining, what the decision is. We also give you the opportunity to study legislation, be it domestic legislation or international treaties. We also would give you the opportunity to read academic articles and to try to distill the main idea or arguments from those articles. So hopefully it's going to be a comprehensive, skills-focused and practice-focused course that would be on offer. So that's just to give you a taste of what a typical JD course would look like. Thank you.
Thank you to Professors Kalog and Hilary. Professor George now will talk about the LLM programs and the SJD program.
Thank you. Aisha, thank you so much. Welcome, everyone. I'm also myself, delighted to be here with you today. We look forward, to further discussing later, all the comments that you may have. So, if you may already have any comments on our JD program, as well as on the programs that will follow, namely the LLM programs and the SJD program, just feel free to type everything in the chat or the Q&A box, okay? So that, we start reading and, start, processing in a way that we're going to respond to your questions. Now, let me give you a little bit of insight into how our law school works. Okay, it is roughly structured in a way as an American law school is structured. We have our JD program, right? My colleagues did a wonderful job in discussing the JD program with you, which is in a way our signature program, right? In a way, our whole law school has been based on the development of our JD program, but on top of this, we have another 3 what we call graduate programs. Namely, we offer 2 LLM programs as well as an SJD program. The main difference between those 3 programs and the JD program is the research orientation, if I may say so, of the graduate programs. The JD program is a graduate degree. It is a professional doctorate. This is what it is, okay? Our LLM programs and the SJD programs are more research oriented. Let me start helping you understand what I mean by this. We offer first the LLM International Economic and Business Law. This is a program that is oriented to the lawyers amongst yourselves, okay? So you have to have a law degree you know, in order for us to be able to admit you in the first place. So this LLM program is structured in the following way. We offer 2 core courses of the LLM program that you will be in the classroom with your fellow LLM classmates, okay? Those 2 courses are Research Methods in Law, number 1, and number 2 in the second semester. Research Methods in Law, by the way, is taught by my colleague Aisha Al-Nama, and in the second semester, Global Legal Ethics, okay? That's taught by my colleague Kalok Yip. Now, you'll see already the focus and the orientation of the program, okay? Namely, focus on research methods and, you know, help you develop the necessary skills for you to undertake the major, you know, work that is to be undertaken under the LLM program, which is the LLM thesis. I'll come to that in a second, okay? And in the second semester, the second focus, namely on global legal ethics, okay? If you may want to say that aside from the focus on economics and business, you know, this is, you know, another major aspect of what it is that we're doing here, methods and ethics, okay? Now, this program, LLM International Economic and Business Law, focus on both the private law as well as the public law aspects of the economy. So we focus on courses that relate to contracts, business, and entrepreneurship on the one side. That's a private law side, if I may say so, okay? And then on the public law side, a heavy focus on trade, investment, finance, okay? These are the kind of issues that you will be dealing with here, okay? And you will have a great variety of courses from the JD program to select from to tailor your studies. This is what the LLM program roughly looks like. I should mention the most important aspect of our LLM program, namely the LLM thesis, okay? In order to be able to complete the program, you're going to have to write a thesis in the broader area of international economic and or business law, maybe trade, maybe investment, etc. Okay, I believe I gave you a broad idea of what we do in the LLM International Economic and Business Law. If we could move on to our other program, namely the LLM International Law and Foreign Affairs. Now, when it comes to your background here, we're not looking only at lawyers, okay, but also people that have a broader background, namely in the international economy, in foreign affairs, international relations, international politics, international political economy. The structure of the program is roughly similar to what you heard about the LLM International Economic and Business Law, okay? So there is in the first semester a very important course on research methods where we help you develop the skills that are necessary to write an LLM thesis. And in the second semester, it is your opportunity to learn about the ethics of a lawyer that operates in the areas of international and foreign affairs, right? Now, over here, we have an even greater variety of courses to select from. Okay, that's an important feature of this LLM program. So in a way, it is the programs are light on core courses, heavy on elective courses for that matter. And this is all to help you build the necessary foundations to develop an LLM thesis. Now, the LLM thesis in the LLM International and Foreign Affairs should obviously have to be in the broader areas of general international law, right, as well as international relations. I shouldn't forget to mention that we introduced this year a fantastic course, which is an introductory course on international law and foreign affairs. Okay, because not all of our students in this program have a legal background, we help introduce them into the basics of international law and foreign affairs separately, but also in combination. Okay, and we offer insights into both the theory and theories of law and international relations, as well as the practice of international law, international relations, and international politics. Allow me to mention something about funding. Now, our LLM programs are 1-year programs. You have the chance to complete to take all the courses and complete the LLM thesis within 12 months, within 1 full year. And we do not offer scholarships here, right? So our students have to pay the fee of approximately $15,000 US dollar, the equivalent in Qatari riyal, for this LLM program. You know, it's as my colleague did for the for the JD program. It's important to highlight this for the LLM program too. And we don't have tuition waivers for those 2 programs. Okay. I hope it's clear what we're doing with those 2 programs. We're super happy to respond to questions later. Now, let us move on. How do we move on? With a Doctor of Juridical Science, right? That's the SJD program. The SJD program is the highest degree that the College of Law offers. It is a research-oriented program. It is tailored for the ones of you that want to be legal academics or otherwise engage with very intellectually demanding and high-end research in the law, with from an interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary angle perspective. Okay, this is what the Doctor of Juridical Science does. Now, you'll see that we've structured this program along the same lines as the LLM programs. In the first semester, we take a course on advanced research methods in law. It's a very heavy course, a very beautiful course where we have the chance to discuss the most important literature that has ever been written in the law. There is something that has been mentioned about our former student Khalid, who is in the call, that he is also our current student in that program, in the SJD program. So just feel free to ask him questions if you may have. Now, in the second semester of that program, what do? We focus again on global legal ethics, advanced global legal ethics, a course that Kalok teaches. So you see again the kind of focus that this program has, right? Now, there are a couple of very interesting features in this program. It's a 3-year program. The first year is a course light with 2 courses, and year 2 and 3, it's actually dedicated for you to further develop your research through what we call an SJD dissertation. But I shouldn't forget to mention, in a way, the pillar of the program, which is our SJD colloquium, which is currently led by Aisha. In that course, you do the following: you study with your group of peers, namely with the other SJD students, as well as on certain occasions with our LLM students, and you have the chance to engage with each other by presenting your own research, as well as hearing from invited speakers on various aspects of the law, as well as of publishing and engaging with high-end scholarship in the law. Okay, so I think these are the main features of the SJD program that I should mention, but let me highlight again this very important aspect, right? This is a program that focuses on research. Hence, the important thing that one has to take into account doing the SJD program is the SJD dissertation, right? Namely, you're going to have to develop in 3 years an SJD dissertation of publishable quality. And let me highlight another very particular aspect of our university in a way, as well as of the program, namely that in this program, in order to be able to graduate, you're going to have to publish 2 articles within those 3 years. This highlights the orientation not only of the program, but of our university. As you heard from our provost say, this is a research-oriented graduate university, right? We want everyone to engage in this type of high-end, scholarly kind of debates and research. Okay, now let me say a couple of things on the funding on our SJD program, and then I'll hand over to my colleagues, and we can take up the rest in the Q&A session. Namely, our SJD program, in the same way as the JD program, has a limited number of tuition waivers. Okay, that's up to 80% for students that will be admitted. By the way, we don't admit more than 3, 4, maximum 5 students. It's a very selective process, which allows us to really create a true academic communities amongst our students and between the students and the faculty members and the broader academic community here in Doha and beyond, in fact. Oh, having said this, another important thing to mention, the supervisory process takes place as follows. You will be assigned, or you will select a supervisor, but there is another wonderful innovation in this program, the doctoral supervisory committee that you can opt for, that gives you the chance to be supervised by a faculty member at the HBKU College of Law, by a faculty member from the broader education city, okay, as well as a faculty member from any university in the world. So it's really unique opportunities that you're given here. And an announcement that I'm not sure that I should be making, but I will make, namely that it looks like we've obtained 2 scholarships for this program for students that will be joining us from abroad. This is a development of the last couple of hours, I should say, and it will allow us to further, enhance and further allow us to bring students joining us from abroad to engage with our already wonderful community here at HBKU. And I've got to say, because I'm the program coordinator of this program, I take great pride in being a member of this community. We have at the moment 7 wonderful students that are doing doctoral research at the very highest level, and it's a great privilege to have the chance to work with each and every one of them. And I will look forward to work with more of you in the future. I guess that's it on my behalf. I may have taken a little more time than I had originally promised. Sorry about that.
Thank you so much, Professor George. We will now hand it over to one of our colleagues from the Enrollment Office, Lana Asfour.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Thank you, Aisha. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the admission requirements for all of the programs that have been discussed tonight. So starting with the JD program, applicants to this program need to have a bachelor's degree with a strong academic record. So the minimum GPA to be considered, eligible to apply is 3.0 out of 4. And applicants from all fields are welcome to apply to this program. So as Professor Hillary had mentioned earlier, you do not need to have a background in law in order to apply for this program. You're welcome to apply from all fields. And actually, the students, that come to the JD program really represent a very, very wide range of fields, which I think is what makes the class all the more interesting. For the LLM program, I think this was also mentioned, is that you do need to have a background in law. So either an LLB degree, a Juris Doctor degree. The minimum GPA, again, to be eligible is a 3. However, the LLM programs will give preference to those with a higher GPA, so at least a 3.3. If your GPA is somewhere between 3 and 3.3, you can still apply, But as I mentioned, preference will be given to those who have a higher GPA. And then moving on to the LLM in International Law and Foreign Affairs. So with this program, there's a little bit more flexibility in terms of academic backgrounds. You do not have to have a law degree. However, you know, that it is one of the areas, of course, that will be sort of given preference. Again, minimum GPA, same 3 with a preference for a 3.3. So just moving on now to talk a little bit about some of the other requirements. So for the SJD program, applicants do need to have a JD or LLM degree, and preference will be given to those who are graduates of the HBKU College of Law. Again, the minimum GPA is the same, 3.0, with a preference of a 3.3. The English proficiency requirement, it's actually the same across the college, same for all programs. So applicants need to have an IELTS score of 6.5 or a TOEFL of 79. However, if either one of your degrees or if you have one degree only was in English, then you would be exempt from this requirement. You would, however, be required to provide us with a letter confirming that your studies were in English. If you graduated from, you know, Education City or certain programs at Qatar University in those programs, then you will need to provide us. If you graduate from one of those programs, then you would be automatically exempt. If you graduated from the College of Law, Qatar University, or the other programs where the language of study is not in English, then you would need to take the IELTS or the TOEFL exam. So just moving on now to talk a little bit about the requirements. So the online application is now open. We've been open since last month, so you are welcome to submit an application. I did see a question asking about spring. So the College of Law doesn't actually have a spring intake just because of the way that the programs are set up. However, if you're keen to join, we would certainly encourage you to apply now for the fall, because, you know, the application's open. The earlier you apply, the better. So in terms of what you need to submit with the online application, your academic transcripts. If you have studied in more than one university, we would need to have both your transcripts. If you have multiple degrees, so if you have a master's and a bachelor's, again, we would need both. And we would need to see all of your grades. So not just your graduation certificate, but grades from all of the courses that you took wherever you were studying. If you graduated from a university or are currently studying at a university where the grading scale is not out of a 4 or a 5, then you will need to submit a grading scale, which would basically explain to us what kind of a system you're coming from. And those sometimes are already included with the transcript. If they're not and you don't have one, you can just request one from your university. As I mentioned regarding IELTS or TOEFL, so if you cannot secure an exemption letter, if you didn't study in English, then you would need to take IELTS or TOEFL. All of the programs require you to submit a personal statement where you talk a little bit about yourself, your background, kind of what your motivations are for wanting to pursue further studies, and how you believe that's going to help you in your future career. All applicants should submit a copy of their passport, and residents and nationals of Qatar should submit a copy of their Qatari ID. You should include, of course, a copy of your CV, and then 2 letters of recommendation. So the form to submit the letters you will find once you have submitted your online application. And then finally, for applicants to the LLM, both LLM programs as well as the SJD will need to submit a research proposal. More information about what you need to put in the proposal is available on the website. I'm just going to put the link over here once I'm done, so you can read a little bit more about what you need to do. If you feel like you need further guidance, please feel free to email us. I'm also going to put the email in the chat so that you can contact us if you have any further questions. A little bit about the deadlines for international applicants: it's February 1. For Qataris and residents, it is March 15. That's all from me. I'm open to any questions that you may have. Feel free to type them and we can reply, and I will post the email address as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lana. It seems that our colleague from Student Affairs was not able to join us, but Professor George would be presenting briefly what Student Affairs is like at the university.
All right. Do you have a slide for that? Perfect. Okay. So now let me start by saying the following. In a way, our Student Affairs works at two levels, namely, at the Central University level as well as at the college level. Okay. So there are a lot of centralized services, such as the ones that are mentioned here, in the slide, that refer to student engagement and development, student life. HBKU is obviously, located in the wonderful education city. It's really a privilege to be part of this amazing endeavor. Really, you're part of a larger community that, includes a series of wonderful universities, as well as, amazing facilities here, right? And, obviously our Student Affairs Office, as well as our college, help you with immigration visa, the extent to which there is funding, housing services, and more. Now, there is a couple more of centralized services, and our students, have started really taking advantage of those when it comes to learning and writing. And I know that currently the university is in the process of, revising all those offerings. And, we can promise you that as of the next year, our students that will be joining us in the new cohorts will be, enjoying a lot of, new offerings on that front too. Okay, so both the fun and the academic part, that is. And another important aspect, our college as well has a student association, the so-called Law Society, where all of our students are represented. Okay, so for every year of the JD program, as well as, if you are a member of our LLM program, as well as, if you are a member of or a student of our SJD program, you have the chance to be represented, in that student association. And it's a wonderful opportunity to have the chance as a student to express yourself in your community. Unless there is any further more detailed questions, I'll leave it at this, right? And we'll be very happy to take up many more questions on student affairs too. But we do a lot. You won't be bored. I can promise that.
Thank you so much, Professor George. In terms of contacting the college, we have two contacts that you're more than welcome to reach out to. It's Sandia and Nisha. If I could ask for the slide with the contacts.
Yeah, it's a very good point, Aisha. These are the, the real people that, you should know, not me, definitely.
So Nisha Dougal, and she's the executive assistant. And we have Sandia Mounas, who is the graduate programs and special events coordinator. So take advantage by jotting out their contact details, and you'll find them also on the website. And now we'll turn to the question and answer session, which our own SJD candidate will handle. Khaled, I'll leave the floor to you.
Thank you, Aisha, and welcome everybody to this open house. And I think it was informative enough to make you really wish to join us. And I can see from the questions which coming up, there are a variety of questions, and I think we'll start with Haneen, which she asked whether she can start by the spring of 2023 for the LLM. And I think I should leave it to Ms. Lana and Professor George for answer.
Yes, so there's no spring intake at the College of Law. However, the online application is open, so you're more than welcome to submit your application from now for fall 2023. The sooner you apply, the better, because then if you're missing things, you need support with your research proposal, anything like that, then you'll have more time to do all of that.
Thank you. The second question comes from Ghanem, where he asked whether the LLM program, whether it be conducted in English only or there will be other alternative languages. think
all the
Professor
programs.
John-
Should I take it up? Look, unless you will be giving the floor to anyone else, by default I will be responding,
Yes,
Khaled, right?
yeah.
Okay. So, HPKU, at HPKU, the language of instruction is almost exclusively English, okay, except for one program in the College of Islamic Studies where, Arabic is partially used as a language, for teaching. Otherwise, all programs at HPKU are in English, okay?
Yeah, thank you. Marwan also is asking regarding the exemption letter, whether if he studied in English speaking country, like if he has graduated from US or UK, whether he will need to submit the exemption letter.
No, you would be exempt. You would not need to submit a letter if you graduated from a university in the US or UK.
Professor Kalak, I think this is for you and Professor George as well. Whether there'll be criminal law degree and LLM degree, whether he's eligible to study criminal law if he studied for the LLM.
Should I go for it, Kalok, or do you want to take it?
Yes, please.
Okay, for sure. So there are two ways to read the question, right? So number one, can I take a criminal law during my LLM studies? I fear the answer is no, right? Because our two current LLM programs are focused on international and foreign affairs, number one, and international economic and business law. And number two, will we have an LLM in criminal law? I'm afraid I'm going to have to disappoint my colleague Kalok. I don't think it's in the immediate plans of the college or the university to introduce an LLM in the criminal law. But if you, Shua, think that we should, just feel free to let us know. Email us, saying that you would be thinking that this is a good idea, and I promise we'll definitely consider that. But I wouldn't necessarily suggest this has been at the moment of a priority at the LLM level. Did you like my response, Kalok, or not that much?
I don't know about auditing policy in this university. I'm not here for long enough to know the auditing policy. For instance, I don't know whether students who are studying for foreign affairs, international law and foreign affairs would be allowed to audit some of the classes that are relevant to international law, particularly on international criminal law and transnational criminal law.
Excellent point. Very good point. Right. Number one, you can audit, for sure. Number two makes me, for sure, that is a fantastic point, right? You can definitely audit courses at HPKU, and, if you're registered in any of our programs. In fact, if you're registered with any college at the university. Number two makes me think that in the LLM, International Law and Foreign Affairs, we have international criminal law listed as an elective, but we have not been offering it. So, potentially, if Shua, would love to register to enroll in our LLM program and would be so much willing to take a class in criminal law, there would be a potential of an offering of a course in international criminal law. Okay, we haven't offered it so far. Or maybe we have, We did offer it a couple of years ago, before you, Kalok, joining. For a year, we offered international criminal law, if I'm not wrong. Right? Exactly.
I think Aisha is a bit worried about the style of citations, so she want to check exactly what specific citation we are using for her LLM thesis.
Right. So I believe the question is specifically for the proposal, right? If the student, has to use some sort of a specific citation style, right?
Yep.
I'll respond in the following way. So I'll invite you to think from the perspective of an admissions committee. In this case, that would be the graduate programs committee that is reviewing those files, right? We review hundreds of files per year. You understand that some of the submissions stand out. Some other applications do not stand out, right? Now, this helps you understand which are the applications that do stand out. The ones that are written, in a language that, is inviting, right? And in substance, it makes good sense. Methodologically, it lays out, the methods that the LLM thesis or the proposal suggests that are going to be used. And last but definitely not least, it uses consistently a referencing style, right? We do not have a preference. This may be a Scholar, this may be a Blue Book. But if you may say that we do have a preference, these are the two referencing styles that we have a preference for, namely Scholar and the Blue Book, right? These are the ones that we mostly use in the law. So the more neat, right, the more well written and presented a research proposal is, I've got to guarantee you, right, the higher chances it has for acceptance. Okay, that is just the truth of the matter.
I'm sorry, but I'm trying now to concentrate on the LLM questions program, and then we'll go for the JD.
Right, and I don't know if you've seen it, Khalid. Some questions are in the chat, some questions are in the Q&A, right? Yes. Perfect.
Yeah, and luckily all the question and answers chat are JD, while the chat mostly are LLM program.
There seems to be division there, right? Okay.
They already divided, so it's easier. One Mubarak, I think he's raising very important concern whether the LLM program would really advance his career, since he, for example, he's from business background. I mean, his non-legal background. How the LLM program will help him in advancing his career or giving him more opportunities in the future.
Great. Thank you, Mubarak. That's a really important, pertinent question. Now, I will invite you to do the following. Namely, think whether you will want to become a lawyer. If you really want to become a lawyer, you will apply for the JD program, right? Now, if you want to gain insights into international law and foreign affairs, and the combination of those two disciplines, you will apply for the LLM in international law and foreign affairs. What I promise this program will give you is, a broad understanding of and wonderful insights into international law, foreign affairs, as well as the individual disciplines that you will have the chance to study with a selection of your courses, right? Now, the previous experience with students that have taken this course, this program, is really wonderful. They've learned a lot and they moved on in their career fairly well, I should say. But I really have to invite you here to consider why it is that you want to further pursue your studies. Okay, do you want to become a lawyer? Apply for the JD program. Do you want to gain a wonderful knowledge on international law and foreign affairs, broadly speaking? Apply for the LLM International and Foreign Affairs. I hope this is a question that that this is a response that really responds to your question. If not, just feel free to ask more.
Thank you, Professor George. Now we'll move to the JD, which is I'm more interested in answering the questions. First come from Aida, who thanked the panelists for their informative session, and she's asking that she's optimistic that she will be gaining some partial scholarship. However, her GPA is only 3, and she wants really to make sure that she can get the opportunity to join the program. And she's asking if any tips she can do to stand out with her application.
Asha, would you like to take this up? Since you are in our JD program admissions committee, or should I take it up?
Very much happy to do so.
Thanks.
So in terms of applying to the JD program, we're really interested to see how you want to pursue it. George had mentioned you need to ask yourself this question: do you want to be a lawyer? Then do the JD. For example, for me, it wasn't because I wanted to be a lawyer that I applied for the JD. In fact, it was because I wanted to see how the arts could be extended in a more interdisciplinary way. And the JD program was a very much a great opportunity for that, because law teaches you to think differently. So really beyond a lawyer, you become more of a strategic thinker, and basically you could be a thought leader, whatever that may resonate with you. And Khalid, you could speak as well.
Well, I don't think I can add more what you already said, but as Professor, I maybe have to echo what Professor George said previously, that, you know, I think that all the programs, they all come from the, I'm kind of sentimental, but it's all about passion. You know, if you are passionate of something, you'll always get benefit of it. And JD is really an example of how to be passionate of something. You know, if you want to join the program, it is an intense program, but at the end of the day, it's very fruitful for you. You have multiple opportunities you can get from your personal knowledge. You can get more opportunity in your field where you become more, because you have now the legal skills, or you can even change your course of action and become a lawyer. So basically it opens you all these windows, and that's what the JD is all about. They don't ask you to have a certain background, from all the background. I mean, when I was in my class, we were around 10 or 11 students. All of us were from different backgrounds, from the political science, and even when we joined the LLM students, where we have these common classes, they're all from different backgrounds. It enhances and enrich your mentality, enrich your knowledge, and will help you really in advancing your career. And I think your application, your letter, it will always has to express exactly why you need this program and how this program really will make a difference for you in your career, whether your current career or for the future. That's only my tips.
So combined with your dedication and of course your transcript, really it's your letter of statement that makes an impact, at least for the admissions committee, that you have thought it through. Sure, law is important, the college is good, but really we want to see that you've investigated the program, but also asked yourself all these important questions about doing these degrees.
Now the question from Qasim, who is asking whether there will be any elective courses in the JD. As he understood from the presentation, most of the classes will be mandatory or compulsory, but I was asking if there's any elective courses. I think Professor George.
That's a fantastic question. Look, as my colleagues clarified before, and as the Dean said so, I can reassure you about one thing. We have designed here one of the most innovative, progressive law programs in the world. It is the most thought-through law program that you can possibly ever find in the world. Okay, as Hilary explained, the first 1.5 years are, the basic course offerings, but as my colleague Kalok explained, everything is from a transnational and comparative perspective. The 4th semester helps you develop the skills that a lawyer needs. And the 3rd year is the application, what you would call, what we call the application year, right? Namely, the knowledge that has been gained in the first 2 years applied in different sectors that are important for Qatar and the region, okay? Now, 99% of the course offerings are indeed mandatory, okay? We give a very little leeway for elective courses, namely, the only chance for an elective course is between media law and sports law. And this is why, because we believe it is very important as a JD class cohort, which is very small, very, very selective, right? We're talking about between 9 to 14 students, right? This is what we're looking at in terms of admissions. It's important for the whole cohort to go through the whole curriculum, which is very important for their individual skill and knowledge development, as well as critical in terms of necessary knowledge in order to apply and practice the law in Qatar, the broader Gulf and the MENA region, and broadly speaking Asia too. So it's a relatively set curriculum that allows for a minor tweaking. Now, having said this, we provide quite a lot of opportunities either for credit or not for credit, such as the moot courts, namely, the trial-like kind of setting that we invite our students to participate at, as well as independent study. You can, pursue a research topic on your own and get 2 credits for that. And we're preparing a couple more offerings on the research side, let's say, of the program, such as study groups. We're in the process of, further expanding the curriculum offering in that regard. But having said this, right, while there are all those opportunities, the curriculum offering is rather set. Okay, and I explain the reasons why.
Okay, thank you very much. Now Ida is having a very interesting question, which really, she said that she already took some classes in cybersecurity pre-pandemic, and she's wondering whether this discipline or the cybersecurity issues will be dealt with in our curriculum. And I think it's very interesting in your law and technology course.
Exactly, you got this right, Khalid. So, as we've tried to explain, our offerings are really up to date. They're not only 21st century, in a way, they're 22nd century offerings. So part of this, broader approach, towards trying to, in a way, help shape the lawyer of the future, we have introduced a course on law, technology, and intellectual property. You heard the dean say before that she's in the virtual classroom with lecturers from the World Intellectual Property Organization. This is exactly part of that course. So we offer this fantastic course on law, technology, intellectual property in the 5th and the 6th semester, whereby you will have the chance to engage with topics that pertain to law and technology, broadly speaking, including cybersecurity aspects that relate to the blockchain, artificial intelligence, autonomous vehicles, as well as all issues that relate to intellectual property, as well as intellectual property management. Rest assured that this is something that we cover quite heavily.
I think Haneen, she's asking a question that is everybody's mind, whether our program and the university is accredited worldwide.
Yes, I'm sure Lana and other people that have been on the same call know that this is a question that I love responding to, and I'll explain why. So, look, this is something that I invite you as lawyers or prospective lawyers to try to understand. Okay, in the state of Qatar, there is no process of accreditation of universities. Okay, we have one thing. That is licensing of universities. The Ministry of Education licenses universities. As you understand, HBKU is a fully licensed university by the state of Qatar. Okay? So, there's no doubt about that. Otherwise, what we would have been doing would have been totally illegal and we wouldn't have been here today. Okay? So that's the issue of licensing. I'm mentioning this because many people confuse licensing with accreditation. Accreditation is a completely different thing, right? In a way, accreditation is a rubber stamping of minimum requirements to perform certain programs. It's a very technical exercise that, in a way, rubber stamps, says that, you have passed a minimum set of requirements that suggests quality, okay? But accreditation, I invite you to think again about this. It's about minimum, not maximum. So I can reassure you that the university, as well as the College of Law, does much more than accreditation bodies require. Now, I participate myself on the university committee that is responsible for accreditation, as well as I'm responsible at the College of Law for issues that pertain to accreditation. The university, and accreditation is something that refers to the university, not colleges, not programs, okay? So the university is seeking accreditation from an association in the United States, and we will have submitted our files by the end of the next academic year. Okay, but accreditation is about minimum. HBKU does much more than the minimum than accreditation bodies require. Okay. I hope this is clear, but I will be happy to further clarify this point.
Actually, I think her second question is really more adding up for the first one. She's asking whether it's possible for her to continue her study for a PhD once she obtain a HBKU law degree.
For sure, rest assured, absolutely. There is absolutely no doubt about this. You heard about the successes that our former JD students have had, right? Namely, out of our JD program into the best, literally the best LLM programs. And, again, I invite you to consider this. Namely, how many law schools do you think that there have been that within 7 or 8 years of existence have sent so many people to so many good graduate programs in the United States? I think in the history of the law schools, there has been no other one. Okay, and that's the same with our LLM programs. For sure, after you will have finished our LLM program, you will be 100% eligible as well as substantively ready to go for it. Okay, we do get these questions quite a lot. Are the formal requirements in place? For sure they are. The formal requirements are in place. But I will personally invite you again to think about the substantive requirements. Will you be substantively ready to, be admitted in a program in the United States? And the answer is again, definitely yes. Okay, we will provide you with the knowledge that will prepare you to perform very well in a PhD program in the United States. Okay.
Now, I think now we have a question from Qasim, and I think the answer for his question is really what makes our HBKU Law School is different and stand out from all the MENA region schools, because he's asking that how it will be graded, whether he's asking there will be an exam or research paper, and the second part is, does he have to memorize law?
Now, the last thing that we will ask from you to do is to memorize the law. Okay. Okay. I think all my colleagues here on this call, will be very reassuring to you about that, right? So, definitely not. We are not memorizing any single thing here, right? Instead, what we invite our students to do is think about the law. Thinking about the law is one thing, and think critically about the law, right? And this is a challenge for some of our students. Namely, we invite you not to learn the law only, right? But we invite you to be the lawyer that, will doubt the law, the lawyer that will dispute the law before the courts, before the policy makers, right? Now, when it comes to grading, assessment, and so on, each and every course is very different. We give the liberty to our faculty members to design their assessment techniques in very different ways. For some, there will be an exam in the way that you know it from other places. For some other courses, there will be take-home exams. I'm infamous for that, and Khalid can testify to that. And other colleagues such as Kalok, invite students to write research papers too, right? Kalok, would you like to say something about that too on this point? Oh, I think you're muted, Kalok.
Yes. So yes, of course. I think that it's a bit of an art, isn't it, how to design methods of assessment. It also depends on the course content and so on, and the objectives of the course. I personally find it perhaps most helpful to ask students to reflect on things that they genuinely are very interested in. I think that's going to be, much easier and much more efficient and effective, I suppose, in the end. to write research papers on a subject that they're interested in, and for that to happen, you need to allow them freedom to choose, their own topic, because otherwise it's just not going to work. People are not terribly interested. In the first range, if you ask them to do further research, it's just not going to come out right. So it does actually depend on, a number of factors. It depends on whether the course would be wide-ranging enough to allow people to choose from amongst the topics that, one that they would be interested in, and yeah.
Right, exactly. I can give another example on top of what Kalok said. For example, in my administrative law class, I have, the regular, ways of assessing, namely, class participation, writing response papers, for readings in the classroom. But, I always do that, for example, in my own courses. I give the chance for an optional paper, and we were discussing with Khalid yesterday. He did take that option, and he wrote this wonderful paper on the role of the Ministry of Justice in the public procurement process here in procurement contracts in the state of Qatar, right? He wrote this wonderful paper. He got this wonderful grade because of the wonderful paper on top of having taken the exam.
Thank you. If you allow me, from a student's perspective, you'll find there's a variety of assessment, and as Professor Kalok said, that every program have its own unique way of assessment. But if you see that it's also built up. In first year, most of the exam will be written exams and take-home exams, while in the second year we'll have this kind of mixture between papers, research papers, and take-home exam, while third year most of it is research papers. So basically you are building up your skills from day one. You start with this, how the things has to be done. You learn how to really write officially legal opinions. Then from the second year, we try to explore your skills, how you can write, and from there your third year and LLM as well as SGD. Once you build up with a good foundation of how to really write a legal paper or a legal memo or a legal opinion, you'll be able to write anything. And that's how our program and assessment comes up. And I have to say that even the way of teaching the classes is different. Now, we don't use this kind of, student and teachers. It's more of Socrates type of, teaching. Now, we come with a professor with his own questions, and he come testing you, trying you to understand how much you understand the law. And then I remember in our administrative law, there are so many debates between students themselves, how they debate. And, at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong in law, because if there's something wrong, there will be no lawyers, as Professor George always said. There's always an opinion, but it's just how you really to formulate your opinions. That's the most important thing, and that's one of the most important skills you will learn in our college.
Anything else? Do you have any further questions?
I think that's all. Unless you guys have any more questions, we are welcome.
Guys, last chance. Type it in. Okay.
Okay, I think it was very informative, and thank you very much, guys.
Well, thank you so much, everyone. We have one more question, Khalid.
Yeah, whether there'll be many hours after classes, especially weekend. She's asking how many days a week and how many hours per week. I think Aisha, you can answer, or with Professor George.
No. I'll say something. A suggestion again. Focus on the quality of the studies rather than the minutes that you will have to spend on reading, because it's going to be a lot. Aisha, sorry.
I was just about to say the same thing. It's a lot of work. It requires time management at times, but if you're more critically thinking and engaging than worrying about the workload, I think you will get the most out of the college, and the collegial environment that we have will definitely benefit everyone. The relationships that you will have with the students, engaging with the SJD students, or engaging with the faculty, their experiences and the works that they have published will all help you.
So it's many hours if we really have to respond to the to the question. That's just the truth of the matter, right? But you know, this is how it has to be, right? You can't learn the law otherwise.
We have also a question from Faisal. He's inquiring about whether they will see a program for sports law.
Look, you know, while I'm not sure that there will be a separate program on sports law, right? Namely, you know, would that be, I mean, you know, an LLM offering or something? I don't see that coming soon, right? But having said this, we offer a course on sports law, right? My colleague, Zach Kalo, you know, really specializes on that matter. We do quite a lot of events on sports law. So, you know, you're really invited, Faisal, to join us in one of those events, and, you know, we can discuss about your interest in sports law or otherwise. And we have in our JD program a sports law course offered by Zach, which is a real wonderful opportunity for the students. And the same course can be taken from our students in the LLM, International Law and Foreign Affairs. So while we don't have a separate, you know, program on sports law, right? We do offer the course, as well as we organize quite a lot of extracurricular stuff that relates to sports law, okay? And we have very, very close ties with many institutions, both in private practice, in many law firms, as well as government institutions in the area, as well as a lot of, you know, personal contacts in the field.
Please, can you share your contact for more inquiries?
So I think
Professor George, Professor, do you need your contact number?
Yes. So Lana sends the admissions related information. So let me try. I can only type in the chat. I cannot type in the Q&A box for some reason.
Yes, that function is in there. You can only do it in the chat box.
Okay, there we go.
And I
That's
will put
email.
my number too for the graduate programs. And
Perfect. Just feel free to reach out to us. We'll be very happy to discuss. All right. I guess that's it, right?
So we'll close. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I hope you really benefited from the opportunity of speaking to the faculty here and our colleagues from the enrollment office, Khaled, of course. We wish you the very best of luck, and hopefully we see your applications.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you, everyone.
Many thanks, Hussam. Many thanks, Lana. Many thanks, everyone. Bye-bye. See you soon.